Hello, and welcome to Book Circle Presents The Abigail Incident. If you have followed my stories before, you may have run into Gus and Doug. They were two ordinary guys. That's how they started. This is a story about how they've been getting on. The Abigail Incident. Two lions hiked east between the country road and the cornfield. There was no one to see them. They had selected this route for privacy, but a hypothetical observer would have had much to think about. First, of course, was the mere fact of two lions roaming the American countryside. But if the hypothetical observer was well informed, they would have seen these were not African lions or cougars. They were American lions, Panthera atrox, extinct since the end of the last ice age, so big that their shoulders were nearly level with a man's. They were not identical. One was longer, leaner, and dark on legs, tail, and head, like an immense Siamese cat, though its eyes were golden brown. The other, stockier one had barely any color points and a coat of light fawn. Its eyes were blue. If not as remarkable as extinct lions in broad daylight, it was still odd that both were wearing backpacks. Certainly as remarkable, or more so, was the fact that the two were marching in cadence together, whistling the Colonel Bogey March from Bridge Over the River Kwai. After the fifth repetition, the blond lion, Gus, asked, "How can we talk and whistle with these lips?" His voice was a husky tenor. "I've no idea," the dark-pointed lion, Doug, answered. "Want to go back and ask him about it?" Gus snorted and glanced over his shoulder back west along their path. He did not bother to say no. Instead, he began singing the Cowardly Lion's song from The Wizard of Oz. "Yeah, it's sad, believe me, missy, when you're born to be a sissy without the vim and verve. But I could show my prowess, be a lion, not a mouse, if I only had the nerve." "See," said Doug, "you sing just fine." Gus was self-conscious about the huskiness of his voice, and only the boredom of a long trip had got him singing show tunes privately with his best friend. "You've been overexposed to me. What next? That's the only song I know about lions." The dark-pointed lion immediately began to sing in a powerful baritone. "In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the quiet jungle, the lion sleeps tonight." "Oh yeah," said Gus, remembering. He began singing backup. "Wingle whip a wingle whip a wingle." "What?" "It's a window walk or weem away, or something. What's wingle whip? It sounds like a spread made from prunes." "Oh, don't talk about food, even prune whip. I'm so hungry, but I don't want to chase anything down. Besides, I wouldn't trust things from this field, pesticides, fertilizers." "Oh, hey, you may not have to. Civilization ahead." Doug tried to point with a forepaw, which made him stumble, so he nodded instead, indicating a grain silo peeking above the corn. "Great! With a little luck, that'll be Abigail." This was the town they were making for. Soon, the backcountry road ended at a T intersection. To the right, at the intersection of the crossing road and a small highway, stood a small building that, from the signage, looked like a restaurant. They approached, skulking behind the corn stalks until they could get a good look at the sign. Wooden, flat white, bearing a hand-painted cartoon chicken, yellow and grinning, and the words, "Yum Bird, Home of Chicken Things." "Chicken things?" read Doug dubiously. "Gotta be better than rabbit," Gus stated. "I don't know. Underdone rabbit, or gopher." "Okay," Doug conceded. He shivered, rippled, shrank, and blanched, and became a young Asian man, big and lean, crouched naked in the cornstalks. Gus, meanwhile, became a sandy-haired young white man, likewise naked. They shrugged out of their backpacks. From these they removed underwear, jeans, t-shirts, and flip-flops. Doug had long hair. He pulled it back into a high-set ponytail. Gus's hair was just collar length. He combed it out with a pocket comb. Both combed out the bushy mutton chop side whiskers they wore. Then they loaded their pockets with wallets and phones, checked for traffic, emerged from the corn, and approached the Yum Bird. Inside, the high school girl behind the counter was surprised and giggly and a bit nervous to have two big male strangers as her only customers during this slack time. She stared a little at Doug. She confirmed that they were on the border of the town of Abigail, then readily produced 2 buckets of chicken things. These turned out to be thighs and drumsticks and breast chunks in a salty, peppery crust. Totally ordinary, but a big relief from rabbit and gopher. Gus and Doug ate both buckets and split a third, sitting on repurposed kitchen chairs at a plastic table and reveling in air conditioning. At their request, the girl brought over 2 bottles of beer. "I don't think I'm supposed to," she told them, giggling again. "I'm underage, but there's no one else here." "We won't tell," said Gus, grinning. "I think those rules only apply if you open the beer bottle," said Doug, opening the beer bottle. "The town has a park, right?" asked Gus. "A little one," the girl admitted. "Who would we see about using it for a circus?" "Circus?" "Yeah," said Doug. "We work in a circus. We've been away training, but we're meeting up with them in Great Bend. We're always looking for new places to put on a show." "Oh, that'd be cool, with clowns and elephants and things?" "Well, no elephants," Doug admitted. "We're a pretty little circus, but performing dogs and cats and trick riders." "Acrobats," Gus put in, "and magicians and clowns, definitely." "Hey," he asked Doug, "are we clowns or acrobats?" "Acrobats," Doug answered. "We're not funny enough to be clowns." He turned back to the girl. "Anyway, who would we ask?" The girl shrugged. "The mayor, I guess." "Where's Town Hall?" "Just keep following the highway. You'll come to that park, and Town Hall's on one side of it. You walking?" Doug smiled a little ruefully, and Gus said, "We hiked and hitched all the way from the Rockies." "In those?" she asked, a little incredulously, nodding at the flip-flops on their feet. "Barefoot, usually," Gus said, "but don't restaurants want you to wear shoes?" "Oh, she shrugged again. "Get you anything else?" "What have you got for dessert?" Doug asked. "Ah, well, you are in luck. My mom did a big batch of cookies this morning." They were broad and thick and well-stocked with chocolate chips and peanut bits. They shared a dozen and washed them down with ice water. Then they thanked and tipped the girl and headed for downtown Abigail. "So far so ordinary," Gus remarked. "Yeah, no big shadow over Innsmouth vibe." "Just you wait till sundown when the chicken people come out." "And gather at the park to worship Poltrulu." Ow, first pebble. Why does anyone wear flip-flops? Doug halted, removed his footwear, and put it in his backpack. He reshouldered the pack and took out his phone. "Let's see if we have coverage." While Gus also divested himself of flip-flops, Doug called the amazing Madame Theano, Irma Vogel, stage magician, fortune teller, and one of the owners and operators of the Windy City Fantasy Circus. "We're at Abigail," he told her, then put the phone on speaker and held it out as he and Gus strolled down the highway shoulder. "Oh, good. Anything interesting?" "Their fried chicken compares very favorably with rabbit you've hunted down yourself as an extinct lion, then cooked over a campfire, but not quite enough. Actually, we were hoping you had some more information for us." "Sorry, no. Let's see. Maybe I could do some horror-y calculations. Can you say how many people you've seen since you came to town?" "One." "How many cars have you passed since you arrived?" "None." 1 and 0. Theano was a Pythagorean, therefore a numerologist, and extracted unreasonable amounts of information from numbers, but this was little to work from. "Any big buildings?" Gus chimed in. What do you call big? There's a grain elevator, one building with 3 stories, everything else is shorter, a couple of churches with steeples. What kind of churches? Theano asked, sounding interested. Don't get your hopes up, said Gus. I can't see from here, but I'll be surprised if they aren't just Methodist or some kind of Baptist. We're not talking about a cult of Dagon or anything. Theano sighed. How about a Masonic hall? Those can be interesting. We're just on the edge of town, Doug objected. How could we tell? Sometimes there's signs at the town line. No signs, Doug told her. Can you pull anything out of what we've given you? I'll try. She changed the subject. You've really gone hunting as lions? We have indeed, Doug told her, practicing how to use the new shapes, and how to take the shapes too, of course. Saves money on food and lodging, Gus added. What kind of practice? She asked. Running and jumping, climbing, play fighting. While weighing half a ton each, Irma remarked. That must be pretty spectacular. Did he ever explain why he taught you an extinct species? Sorta, said Gus. He said the animal powers wouldn't mind something extinct, but they wouldn't want us to copy something alive. When we asked who the animal powers were, he just smirked and didn't answer. Shamans trade secrets, I guess. Okay, something new to worry about. Send us pictures of you as lions when you get the chance. Okay, said Doug. I better sign off now. It's been a while since this phone got charged. Text us, Gus said, if you come up with anything more concrete. All she'd given them so far was that there was something to investigate in Abigail. Will do, she said, and hung up. They made their way past ranch-style houses banked up against the cornfields, then through a little gridwork of streets to the park in the middle. Streets and park were well planted with trees, the first they had seen since leaving the copse they had slept in. The park had a swing set and a slide on a patch of bare dirt. The 3-story building turned out to be the town hall and police station, and fronted on the park. It was dark red brick and looked exactly like any number of other boxy brick buildings that had apparently been planted all across the Midwest in the 19th century. They put their flip-flops back on and entered. They had seen quite a few more people by now, but the interior of the town hall was nearly empty. The mayor's office was shut and silent. They settled on the office of the town clerk. The clerk was a thin, middle-aged lady with bright eyes who was far more interested in 2 strange young men than in the work on the laptop before her. Her desk sign identified her as Catherine Kroll. Can I help you? She asked. We've got a kind of funny question, Gus told her. How do we get permission to put on a circus here? She smiled at them and looked puzzled. Doug handed her a business card and said, We work for the Windy City Fantasy Circus. We were off training, but now we're meeting up with them in Great Bend, and they asked us to scout around for places where they could put on shows. And we wondered if, say, we could use the park out there. He pointed over her desk toward the window. Oh, well, it must be 100 years since the circus came to town, if it ever did. I think I know which licenses to give you to fill out, but approving them is up to the town council. The mayor is on the council, of course, but he's not the only one, though he brings most of the motions before it. But the council won't meet again until next month, and the mayor is away just now. Maybe you should take the forms with you and mail them back here after you fill them out. She got up, rummaged through folders, and presented Doug with a small sheaf of papers. He thanked her and put them in his backpack. You might have better luck asking to use the school playground if you're here in the summer, Mrs. Kroll said, or get a farmer to rent you the use of a pasture, though I would love to see a circus tent out there. She looked out the window at the park. It's a little circus, Gus warned her. We don't have a big top, just some small tents, and we do as much as we can outdoors. No elephants or lion tamers? She asked wistfully. Afraid not. It's awful hard to get permission for wild animals now anyway. But we have trained dogs and cats and trick riders on horseback and clowns and acrobats and musicians, jugglers and magicians, stage magicians. And we encourage locals to sell their crafts and food, Doug added, and to put on their own shows. Sounds sort of like a Ren fair, Mrs. Crowell remarked, or an English fete. I wish you the best of luck. What do you two do in the circus? We're performers, said Gus, stuntmen. We put on mock battles, karate, sword fighting and stuff, and act as straight men for the clowns in some of their routines, act the bad guys for some of the trick rider skits. Sword fighting? Mrs. Kroll echoed, sounding impressed. Yeah, Gus answered. It's the fantasy circus, so the theme is medieval fantasy. We dress up as, he groped for the words. As knights and monsters, Doug picked up, or even monster knights. We fight each other, and we pick people out of the audience and play fight them, too. And we give sword lessons and archery lessons to the crowd. But it's just the one lesson, and then you leave town, she objected. Doug shrugged. Some people enjoy it, gives them a taste. Maybe they'll go on to take it up for real. Kids love playing with swords, Gus remarked. We got a whole set of rubber ones for that. When my son was 8. Do you do lightsabers? She asked. They laughed. Wrong franchise, said Doug. Maybe someday. She fingered the business card Doug had handed her. Can you give me half a dozen more of these? I'll pass them out to the council members and put one on the mayor's door so he sees it as soon as he gets back. We'll do it. Where's the mayor's house? Asked Doug. Right across the park from here, she pointed out the window. See the light gray one? They thanked her, gave her some cards, and left. Short commute, Gus remarked after they made a brief stroll across the park and mounted the 2 steps onto the mayor's porch. Doug nodded, took out a card, and poised his hand over the door to tuck it into the window frame. But he paused, looked to the left, and said, "Oh." "What?" asked Gus, then turned, looked, and also said, "Oh." The house to the left had been painted white, but it was hardly white any longer. The paint peeled so much that it was better called speckled. The curtains of all the second-floor windows were drawn. Nothing else could be seen because of a tall hedge blocking the view. It was neatly trimmed on the mayor's side, but the top, beyond a man's reach, was shaggy. It was not the appearance that drew their attention, though. The first magical skill they had been taught was detecting magic and recognizing different kinds of it. The house next door rang, reeked, blazed, bristled with it. When you began noticing magic, it came as something between an imagining and a hallucination. Magical items or people working it might seem shiny or radiating heat or cold or smelling of spice or the like, but after a while it became its own signal. Now, to Doug and Gus, it was as if the speckled house had had signs nailed up all over it, which had then been torn down, leaving behind not the print, but the meaning. They studied this invisible script for some seconds. That's a lot of... Doug trailed off. We must be standing, 6 or 8 yards from that house, Gus said. We can pick it up no problem. And whatever's doing the magic could be a ways inside. Did the magic, Doug corrected. I don't think anything's running now, just traces, residues. A lot of residues. I think it's mostly glamour. Yeah, I wonder, does the house even really look like that? Yeah. Well, now we know what Theano picked up on her radar. Gus agreed. Let's try to get some more information out of Mrs. Kroll. Doug nodded. She seems agreeable. They walked back, considering. Catherine Kroll had seen them cross and recross the park, and so was not surprised to see them back. We were thinking, Doug told her, about what you said about getting the use of the school playground instead. Could you tell us where the school is? And do we fill out another set of forms for it? Oh, I think you can fit the playground on the same forms with the park, she said cheerfully. School's at the edge of town. Here. She pulled out a blank sheet of paper and began sketching a map. While she worked, Gus said, That's quite a neighbor Mayor Blakemore has. They'd seen the name on the porch mailbox. Yes, agreed Mrs. Kroll. I think she's the reason he goes off on vacation so often. Not that his wife and kids object. What is that road called? She turned to her computer to find the name. Can't he, do something? I mean, he's the mayor. Mrs. Kroll turned back from the computer and wrote names on the map. Actually, he can't. There's no law against letting your house turn into a dump. Another mayor might throw his weight around and pressure Dolores unofficially, but not Ed Blakemore. Not his character. And anyway, he knows folks in Abigail don't like a mayor to throw his weight around. This way, at least, he gets some sympathy. There. She offered them her map. Is this Dolores even there? Doug asked. The place looks deserted. Oh, yes, it's been months since I saw her, but the folks who leave bars at closing time often see her wandering up and down the main street, looking in store windows. I didn't notice any bars, Gus remarked, not that I was looking. There are a couple. Every town has them, I guess. And every town has a recluse, and Dolores Graves is ours. Gotta say, she doesn't cause any trouble. Not really. Well, I really shouldn't be talking like this, but I guess I was venting. It's just puzzling. Poor soul really should be pitied. Maybe we can lure her out with the circus, said Doug. He and Gus smiled and left. And we'll follow Doug and Gus next time.